Very good day to you, Mr. Muktar.
Yeah, thank you for having me today. Good morning, good afternoon. It's raining here in Lagos.
Exactly. So. Oh, great. That's a good weather for Lagos people.
Big problem when it rains in Lagos.
I get it. But let's get down to the real issue of today. What is your assessment? Let me first go to the ranging question that many economists have answered, although you have not answered it for me. But let me ask you first. Last week, MPC CBN released and retained the rate. What was your reaction? Were you expecting this to happen, or you have something else in mind, hoping that the CBN will follow?
I wasn't surprised because, again, I wasn't expecting them to do anything new because they will tell you that they have been having results and there was the extent to change it. So, and again, looking at the macroeconomy issues as it stands now, they are between the devil and the deep sea, and so they have to make a decision, either to grow the economy or to attract investment. And then in attracting investment, you are trying to attract FX-based investment. And the only way you can do that is to make rates high, so that means fixed income instrument become a little bit, I give you high returns. So I'm not surprised, and I'm not surprised that they took that part because what is foreign Nigeria inflation at the moment, no matter what everybody will say, is FX exchange rate because of the cost of exchange rate, whether you bring in a goods or you are bringing in machineries. Since the President Tinubu policy of suspension of tariff on household item has not been implemented. So what you see is that you see a lot of goods that are coming to the country, they are very expensive. So, but if you are able to stabilize the exchange rate, then you are not just only deal with inflation. I mean, yes, you've not only deal with inflation, then you have deal with supply side. That means a lot of effects in the economy, and that will, using one stone to kill two birds, that will bring down inflation.
Exactly. That's been the argument of the CBN. Although, thanks for your submissive, intelligent submission on this particular aspect of the question. And going forward, we just hope that CBN will continue to do the right thing to help the economy, particularly the effects. Now, talking about today's discussion, as we mirror down the first half of President Bola Ahmed Tinubu, term in government as the president of Nigeria, what has been your assessment so far? Let me put it this way: the two twin policy that the president brought in at his inaugural speech, in your own understanding, is it a good decision at that point in time?
At that point in time, it wasn't a good decision. You saw the impact on the market, on the economy. You saw that hyperinflation moves. And again, that hyperinflation moves have not receded up to this moment. What we are seeing today is textbook inflation reduction as a result of rebasing of GDP. That's why we see the inflation has come down. But again, you can't say it wasn't you can't say it was not needed at that time because of the kind of corruption and the type of that we're seeing in that subsidy side of it. So that removal of subsidy, I think, was a good policy. You won't doubt it. At least in the long run, it will be a good policy. But in the short time, why we are feeling the impact, it was because they did not put structure on ground to guide against some of the impact of those policy. And coming in that soon, they have known before now that this is what they want to do. Even if the president told us that it was not even in the script when he said that. But again, it was something that the discussion with the former president, we've seen the body language. And during the campaign, he practically said that he was going to remove subsidy. So if you're going to remove subsidy, then you have to put a cushion. So that was the floating of the naira for me was very shocking because you remove subsidy, then you float the naira at the same time. That was really what it dealt the Nigerian economy a big blow because again in floating the naira, you didn't even have the liquidity to meet demand. So that was my greatest challenge, and I said it time and time again that it's not because you float the naira you think that you begin to attract investment. It's more or less how much liquidity you bring in, because no central bank in any part of the world leave its currency to market forces. There are places that you know what is the true determining rate of your currency, and we need to intervene to balance our currency. The current dispensation where we are that the currency can move to 180, 150, 160 is giving a lot of speculators more room to operate.
A very interesting perspective. But let's now get down to the focus of our topic of today. You know, Muktar, you are an industry player, you are one of the big players in the Nigerian stock market, capital market. But some economists believe that, and financial analysts believe that, the past 2 years, President Tinubu has brought some aggressive reform into that sector that have turned around that sector. You are a player there. Can you give us an hint on how this aggressive reform has really touched that sector going forward?
Yeah, I think it depends on which side of the device you are in the capital market.
Exactly.
So you say the policy has really worked. But again, if there's any sector of the Nigerian economy that really benefited from the President Tinubu, I think it's the capital market. You need to say that clearly. His policy has really helped the capital market in terms of capital appreciation, growth, dividend payout, the kind that we've never received before. We have received it this year. And so I think his policy as far as the capital market has been very, very, very positive to capital market. There's nobody that can take that away from him. Though, like I said, it depends on the type of where the device you are. If you are in some of this manufacturing sector, the telecom sector,
Oh, we're having a connection problem with you, but Muktar will
you
be
will
back.
say,
Okay.
his policy has brought a lot of space. Like where I am, I mean, if you're a financial stake player, you know that policy has really helped you stabilize.
Very interesting. Now, when you talk about the stability that the policy have brought into the market, although, as you rightly pointed, it depends on where you are. For you, the financial sector, particularly with the recapitalization of the banking sector and the rest of it has really brought some positive gains to players in that regard. But on the other way around, I know many people also grumble around the policy. But why do you think some people are not comfortable with the aggressive policy of the president to the capital market? Why do you think they are not so comfortable with it?
Well, I don't know why you mean, but I think there were needed policies to drive growth in the economy and drive growth in the capital market. So for me, I'm not one of those people that think that some of his policy have not been able to, have been too aggressive for the market. For me, I think his policy has been very good for the market. But again, like I said, it depends on the type you are. If you're in the manufacturing sector, the telecom sector, you say that his policy has really bring distortion in your investment, especially the FX losses that we saw at the beginning of his tenure after the floating of the naira. I think if you're in that sector, I will agree that you say that most of his policy have brought aggressive decay to the market. But again, we are beginning to see in the corridor of stability, whereby we're seeing some of these companies that were lost during these times are beginning to recover, and hopefully that recovery will continue, because there is a corridor of stability in the FS market there, and they know now it's either 1,600 or 1,650. So it gives them room to plan and then look at their bottom line have been improving. Some of them have been so ingenious that they are, rather than bringing in foreign material, they are beginning to use local material to meet their consumption demand.
Exactly. Now let's also look at one key aspect of the president policy in the capital market that a lot of people have applauded: the ISA signing. From your own perspective, because I've had a lot of experts, particularly from the angle of capital market, talking about appraising the ISA, that means the Investment and Security Act 2024, so the signing of it by President Tinubu in late April 2025, mid-April 2025, that is on the 4th of April 2025. And a lot of them applauded it, and I won't say to high heaven, but at least that appraising of that particular signing of that document shows there is a lot to be benefit from that document. But from your perspective, can you shed a light on some of those goodies that is coming from that ISA signing?
Yeah, really goodies, as you say. I think my own goodies is in the area of dispensation of justice will be very swift. Again, that is fantastic. It's not going to take forever. Also, the culprits that are found wanting will be dealt with instantly. That for me is a very good one. Then I think thirdly, investors, in terms of delisting or when an investor stock is sold by a stockbroker without his knowledge, how much percentage will be paid, that have been improved, and but I still think there should be more on that. Then I think those are the main key things that the corporate governance also has been in that bill is going to improve. So I think for me is one of is a very good bill for the capital market, knowing fully well that the capital market needs this bill, especially with the times that we are in now. So I totally agree that that bill is good for the capital market.
Exactly. When you say it's good for the capital market, a lot of Nigerians also want to find out how good it will be for the entire Nigerian economy. But there's something I found about that ISA. Okay, go ahead.
Yes.
Muktar, go ahead.
How good it will be for the entire Nigerian economy is that when the capital market is stable, when the capital market can bring in investors, when investors have confidence in the capital market, they will bring in their FX. The FX in turn will stabilize your rate. Once the rate is stabilized, cost of goods will come down. So that's how it will affect every Nigeria.
Exactly. I love what you put it, how it will affect Nigeria, especially FX angle. But I'm looking at one aspect of that ISA that is bringing up the diversification of activities within the capital market is one of the key aspects that it brought in. Talk about recognition for all those digital asset aspects. What's your take on that regard? Because a lot of young Nigerians who have been hoping that a law will come to guide them in investing in digital assets have now find a room under capital market.
Look, when you talk about this digital asset, we need to be careful about digital assets because again, we've seen how the digital assets actually bought a lot of Nigerians hands bonds. Recently, we are talking about the issue that has to do with CBEC. I always remember we have the MMM and others. All these are what people come in corner way to say digital assets. Even in developed economy of the world, they are still struggling to come up with modality to how to deal with digital assets. And I think what Nigeria has done is to prove to a very strenuous, what do I call it? A very strenuous rules to guide that aspect, because you don't really have the structure to really see how you can balance that digital space. So I think what they need more is enlightenment in digital space, because sometimes when you talk about digital assets, all Nigerians think about is Bitcoin. They don't think of the other aspect of digital, which is real informational, real time. So those are what we need to begin to enlighten Nigeria, that digital asset is not just all about trading on Bitcoin. There are other aspects of digital assets that you can take advantage of.
I see. What you have done for me on this show today is that, because when I had discussion around this particular aspect of the ISA, nobody bring us to the light that beyond what many people are seeing as digital asset, there's something beyond it that we need to understand. And thank you for throwing up an advocacy around it. And I hope we can do more on that in future engagement. But let's just stick to our current discussion. Now, on the capital market as we see today, there are over 110% gains all through that we have been recorded. Talking about the gains. But one aspect that many Nigerians will also be very, very concerned is that how can we sustain this gain going forward? I put it to you, Muktar.
Yes, sustainability is all about company performance, and company performance is all about the economy performance. Economy performance is depending on policies. So if we get all these right, then the sustainability is there. The capital market, Nigeria capital market is not as depth as the depth is not there. We thought Dangote will be coming in second quarter. We thought NNPC will come in. That will give depth to the market. We have not seen that. So there's a lot of most of the stocks in the Nigerian capital market are still undervalued. You want to talk about the banking stocks. You want to talk about especially the banking stock with the kind of growth, with the kind of expansion, with the kind of dividend they have been paying out. So one should always expect that they should continue to sustain the rally. And when you look at the policy of the current administration, which is Nigeria as a $1 trillion economy, it has to start from the capital market. So definitely when the boom will come, it has to boom from the capital market, and that's to boom from the financial space of it. So I think there's a lot of good things that we should expect in keeping up with that. Let me give you an example. For the banks, I don't think any bank that have paid now will have problem paying that same amount or paying above it next quarter. Remember that recapitalization drive is without their retained earnings. And some of these banks have retained earnings in trillions that were not part of what the CBN said they should bring in. If the CBN have allowed the bank to invest their retained earnings by giving their investors extra shares without any cost, you would have seen that a lot of banks wouldn't have gone to the market. And even when they go to the market, you see that with exception of some few, you realize that the amount of shareholding of those banks is going to be commensurate with what they are earning, and those earning per share will not be a problem, especially if You have to move from deep capital appreciation to high dividend payout.
Exactly. I really love the way you have put it, because a lot of Nigerians, they just hear about the bank recapitalization. They are seeing the banks in the stock market, but how they are going to get involved is still limited. But more information will still be regarded in this particular way. But let's also take another issues around this discussion of today. Now, President Tinubu reforms have been regarded very, very interesting, particularly by majority of his supporters. But from your own angle, the microeconomy of Nigeria has felt it. We are at a point in time we have some protests over some of the issues of his policy. But going forward, do you see this policy engineering a better welfare package in terms of what Nigeria will get at the end of the day going forward? Because with what we have seen so far, it seems that the policy are working tremendously, because a lot of appreciation have come from outside the country, World Bank, IMF, praising the government, but the citizens on their own. Let me. What can you say about what the citizens are feeling in regards? Even though World Bank is praising them, IMF is everybody is praising President Tinubu, but from your own angle, the citizens of Nigeria, are you also praising the president for all this reform?
Oh, well, I think, what you need to know about reforms, really are very, very messy at the beginning. They get harder at the middle of the road. And then at the end, you see light at the end of the tunnel. Especially those reforms are able to be carried out with planning and judicious management of resources. So I'm not surprised with the kind of challenges that we see will come with this reform. Especially when you look at the removal of subsidy. We are being used to just people just buying fuel, government subsidizing. Now you have to pay, but again, the positivity about that, you see that your local government, your state government, even your federal government have more money to spend in infrastructure, in schools, in healthcare and all that. But again, that's the challenge with Nigerians. Nigerians are not even following them to know what they are doing with the money, because since President Tinubu came to power, there have been an increase in terms of allocation to both the local government and to the federal government. So those are part of what the policy have done. The policy also have great credibility in the oil and gas sector, which is the blood of the Nigerian economy. Once the oil and gas sector is stable, then you definitely see that a lot will be happening around the Nigerian economy. I think that reform have been able to address that. The only challenge with the reform has to do with the FX challenge, which has to do with low crude oil because of high vandalization. That was something they made on ground. That's how they need to work out on how to resolve that. I think for me, the reform, if you want to score it, we should score it up about 60 to 70%, knowing that there's still a lot of work to be done.
Exactly.
Especially when you look at this reform, when you look at it, you realize that it favors the rich, no matter how we see it, because the rich that have liquidity are able to get assets, and these assets are going to grow over time. But for the poor, what they need is food on their table and opportunity to be able to work. That is not created presently by this administration.
Exactly. And many people will agree with you, because as it stands today, jobs need to be created for Nigerians at least to earn a good living. Before I let you go, Muktar, on the market today, what are we expecting?
Like on the market, we see been neither here nor there. We are seeing a lot of portfolio reshuffling.
Exactly.
A lot of investors are reshuffling their portfolio. This is in anticipation of the second quarter. Remember that we are going to be entering this week is the final trading week for the equity market. So by the time we come in next week, we're in a new trading week. And that trading week is always pivotal in the Nigerian capital market. Because at the end of June of that year, we'll have interim results from most of the quoted company. So it depends on what we are looking for. But like I said, I don't expect those banks, based on their first quarter result, even generally the companies in the Nigerian.
Oh, we're having a network shoot there, but Muktar will shoot. All right. Go ahead, Muktar. Still having that network problem. Although Muktar have said it already.
Yeah, but
okay, go ahead.
Like I said, it's going to be good for us. Going forward, this June is always a very pivotal moment in the Nigerian equity market. We expect the half-year result of quoted companies. We're expecting dividend payout, and you and I know what dividend means to the average Nigerian investor, even to a high net Nigerian investor. So, and when we look at what they've given in the first quarter, we expect those momentum to continue, especially to those companies that are paying interim dividend. If you look at the financial sector already, we are getting up for their highest interim dividend payout from Access Bank, which during their AGM have told every investors that we'll up the game, we'll pay 1 naira as interim dividend. That will be almost 100% from what they normally pay. So we expect some of these banks to follow up, especially those ones that are trying to meet up with the big ones like GTB and Zenith Bank. So even from GTB and Zenith Bank, we expect so much from them. Remember that these companies are these banks are recapitalizing. They have a lot of funds to expand. Some of them are going into a new area that was captured in the current rebasing. And so definitely, I think there's all optimistic that the month of June will be positive. But again, with history, what we have seen about history is that the months of June start off very, very slowly, and you pick up sometime in the middle of the year, then you go down slowly again, then you see it picking up in September, and I mean in August, when those results start rolling out, and by September, it has been priced in, and investors are looking for year end. So it's going to be a slow start, but hopefully there will be a turnaround within the shortest possible time.
Exactly, turn up around in between a short best positive time. But I really love your ending note on this particular discussion today. Optimistic on the market is quite very, very interesting. Muktar, as always, very, very intelligent submission from you. We really appreciate you for coming on the show today.
Thank you for having me. My pleasure always to be on your show. Thank you.
And again, enjoy your cool, cold, rainy weather over there in Lagos.
And traffic weather now.
We have joined you guys too. We're also having traffic here in Abuja. But anyway, enjoy your day in Lagos.
Thank you for having me.
All right now. So I'll be speaking with Muktar Muhammed, CEO of Finances Muktar, who have helped us to understand, the reform in the capital market by President Tinubu, giving us a detailed analysis of some of those, gains of the reform. For the players in the stock market or capital market, they are really smiling to the bank, even though there are little itches here and there. The reform is working for them. Although the FX issue at the beginning was a big problem, but they have been able to overcome it, and they're optimistic. By June, everything will be good on Nigerian capital market.